Hello travelers, welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. Come on in, take a seat, and join us as we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. My name is Thomas the Human Bard, and I am joined today by...
Mercy the Tiefling Wizard.
Onog the Half-Orc Barbarian.
Bean. Bean who? I know like 5
Bean
beans.
the who the what? Bean the who the what?
Oh, I mean, if you've got to know, I'm a rock gnome.
And what do you do?
And
I occasionally dabble in rogueries. That's what
how do you
defines
exchange your
me.
labor?
Now I just want a t-shirt that says the bean, the who, the what on it.
The bean, the who, the what.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Travelers, welcome to this episode where we have a very special item that we are discussing today. And this is the first time we're recording this, for sure.
Yup.
And we definitely did not have technical audio troubles, meaning we lost an hour of footage. So luckily, we're recording this for the first time now in
the middle of summer.
The middle of summer, September the 6th. On this episode, we have been sent a document from the team over at Holidanger on DM's Guild. Now, they are quite prolific. They've had quite a few homebrew documents that they have published covering or creating homebrew monsters themed around a variety of holidays and times of year, different theming going on. This one is the 10 Monsters of Midsummer. They sent this directly to us and wanted us to show it off to you, our audience, to get our thoughts on it, to get your thoughts on it. And if you find any of it interesting, if you're interested to see what else they've got going on, we'll include a link in the description to their DM's Guild page where you can get it for yourself. So this is a document that includes lore, art, adventure hooks, and stat blocks for 10 different monsters that you can add to your homebrew games. One of my favorite parts about the document is that all of these monsters can be added to games as foes, as potential friends, or as third parties neutral to your conflict that maybe will interact your world in some unique way. And I really like the variety there. We'll see as we go through. A lot of these can be very versatile creatures. You might bump into them and have combat immediately, but they could also be the quest giver themselves or a friendly NPC you're looking to help. So it's really cool for you to find a way for them to fit into your own campaign.
We love the idea that like monsters don't inherently have an alignment, that monsters aren't inherently one way or another. We always play that way, and this is a really good example of monsters sort of being written that way.
Yeah,
for
sure. So let's start off with our first monster of the day. What is the better way to start off this beautiful July day that we're recording on?
Yeah.
Beautiful early July day. Then starting off with a healthy breakfast of barbecue.
Well, I'm from Texas, and that's that we eat ribs for breakfast every day.
I mean, I'm from Maine. We eat lobster breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're from Texas, so it's barbecue, baby.
It's barbecue every
barbecue
meal.
cereal,
So you
barbecue
have
sandwiches.
barbecue lobster every day?
I'm from New York, and we really do eat pizza all the time.
That is actually true, and you specifically do eat pizza all the time.
That one tracks.
Well, I'm from California, and we have
Avocados?
sand. We just shovel
Whatever
in
you're
that
eating,
gravel.
it isn't gluten.
Whatever it is, it has no bread in it.
All right, Onog, tell us about the barbecue golem.
Well, you don't get as big and strong as me without having wolfing down some barbecue. And I have to say, the barbecue golem is easily one of my favorite creatures in this entire PDF because it is both simultaneously adorable and horrifying, which is right down my alley. So
it hits that whimsy horror you love so much.
It looks like it walked out of the Wizard of Oz books.
And Onog, I would say adorable and horrifying is how many people would describe you.
I have been trying very hard to cultivate that. Okay, in a small town, there lived a lonely widower who operated an inn. After his partner died, he continued to work diligently, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Cooking was his respite, providing an outlet and a sense of purpose. Seeing people smile after tasting his food became his supreme joy. One day at the local market, the cook came across a strange metal contraption. Ooh. The merchant selling it claimed it could make the most tender and flavorful meat in no time. It was expensive, but the cook envisioned a large feast. he could prepare and the happiness they would bring. He bought it and set to cook a huge chunk of meat. He left the fire going overnight to tenderize the meat. I would argue this is a fire hazard, but let's keep going.
That's not how smoking works.
In the morning, the townsfolk smelled the delicious aroma coming from the inn. Inside, they saw an elaborate feast, but they found the cook in his bed with a smile on his face, having passed away in his sleep.
What? But if he died, who cooked the
Who was phone?
Car door?
Phone house income.
Hand
call
hook car
phone.
door hand. And the device that had made the wonderful meal was nowhere to be seen. There were only black sooty tracks leading out of town and a faint smell of smoked meat lingering on them.
This is sad. This is a sad story.
This is a very, very, morose opening story for what the barbecue golem is.
It's also
This
the first
document
monster.
is sort of like Up, where you just get this entire narrative in the first couple minutes.
Yeah,
that
it's
really
the
just-
first 15 minutes of
kinda
Up, and it's
bums
just
you
like
out.
this sad old man dying alone, and then,
But it's like heartwarming. It's bittersweet.
Yeah, but he died with a smile on his face, knowing that the feast would feed his village.
He's
you know?
with his partner eating barbecue and
Eat barbecue.
well,
Celestia.
it depends on the adventure hook you use.
He's
Because
eating barbecue at the diners, drive-ins, and dives in the sky.
if he falls asleep smiling, knowing that the feast will be served, if after a long day's travel you come upon a small town where the smell of delicious food beckons you, when you approach, you see that the townfolk are all shuttered indoors, while a huge mechanical contraption is terrorizing the town, chasing after livestock to shove inside its smoking torso. That might have a little bit of a different vibe.
Well, what's the end of the adventure hook?
Will you fight the machine head on, or find a clever way to disarm it?
Yeah, so that is the first adventure hook, guys. We're off to a great start here.
I like that it kind of poses it as almost like cows are the natural enemy of the barbecue.
I mean, they would be.
It's the most horrifying Pac-Man you've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. I get a hardcore Studio Ghibli vibe of like this just anime TikTok looking barbecue grill monster man
Steampunk
running around
contraption,
and just
yeah.
shoving cartoon cows inside
It's sort of
of them.
like a no face.
Yeah, very no face, very Howl's Moving Castle, just roaming
But-
across the
yeah.
countryside.
When No Face opens his mouth, there is fire inside of
Yeah,
him.
man.
He doesn't spit everyone out at the end.
Now, some of these other ones might be a little bit more friendly, but nonetheless horrifying in concept.
In their own way.
Yeah, the innkeeper's grill just got up and walked off. They beg you to return it to them and offer a reward. Some townsfolk saw it amble off in the direction of a hunter's forest, known to be protected by a circle of druids, who are not fond of intruders, and I would imagine sapient barbecues. Can you fulfill your quest without drawing the druid's ire?
That's a great adventure hook because it's not necessarily saying go fight the druids. The whole point is you have to be subversive, you have to be clever. It sort of helps maybe quell some murder hobo tendencies, if that's what your party is dealing with.
I always
And that's
go ahead. I really appreciate that writing. That's a lot of what we try to bring to our games, where it's not just about go somewhere, kill everyone there, or bring the one thing back. There's often multiple factions involved who they have different interests. These druids aren't necessarily your enemies, but you might do things that offend them without even realizing, and you have to figure out ways out of those situations. The druids are probably good for this forest, and this golem does need to be brought back, but also the innkeeper doesn't want it destroyed, and probably the druids are going to want to destroy this golem that they see as just a mechanical monster, antithetical to nature. It's you got to find a way to appease everybody, or at least choose what side you're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
That's one of the things I love about all of the adventure hooks in these little creature packs that we have, is that they are cool, interesting, and relatively unique ways of getting the adventure started, and they're almost always thoughtful in their inception, let alone application.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a very cool thing to add to the monster stat blocks.
That adventure hook specifically feels like a missable Witcher 3 side quest, and I mean that as a compliment. It feels complicated and zany and nuanced in exactly the way that quests in The Witcher 3 are, which is like some of the best quest writing that there's ever been.
Yeah, as opposed to like a Radiant Skyrim side quest.
Yeah.
That's just like,
go here, kill thing, come back. You got 10 gold. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go get wood from cave, please.
Where it's
Kill
like,
10
I've
wolf.
got dialogue options with consequences.
Oh no. Yeah, for sure.
All right. And speaking of dialogue options, the final adventure hook for this iron/tin/whatever barbecues are made out of.
Barbecue gold.
You've been on the road for days now, but a small rest area is just up ahead. You see tables, a roasting pit, and some grills on a clearing to the side of the road. As you lay down your pack for the day, one of the grills unfolds into a large humanoid construct and speaks in a metallic voice. Welcome, weary travelers. Please rest and recuperate. My name is Old Smoky, and my job is to help travelers get a good meal and a peaceful night's rest, and to collect their tales in exchange. Would you like to tell me your story?
Okay, I do like that it said metallic voice, and you automatically did a metallic voice until you hit the word Old Smoky.
No, that's automatically when it goes.
Impossible to not do like a prospector voice.
Yeah, it started robot, and then it went
Smoky.
prospect. Yeah.
Like,
I like to imagine that it's like when you record your voicemail.
Yeah.
And it's just like, my name is Old Smoky, and my job is like, it's just a separate voice that's recorded.
I like it. It makes him seem friendly.
except, why is he called Old Smoky? Is that something you should be concerned about? Like,
I mean, he's just smoking.
He's a barbecue
He's just
smoker.
smoking some
He's the
cube.
antithesis to Smokey the Bear.
no, but see, I'm trying to say that where does he get the meat?
That
Could it be the travelers whose stories aren't good enough for him?
Yeah, if you can't trade a good enough story, you go into Old Smoky.
That's very good. I actually love I love the idea of you meet a druid who's wild shaped into a bear. He's got a little hat on, and he's just like, only you can prevent Old Smoky burning the forest down.
Please, you have to stop him.
So now you come across an argument between one druid who is wild shaped into a bear who wants the picnic baskets, and one druid who thinks this is a fire hazard.
Who will you side with?
One is wearing a Mountie hat, and the other one's wearing a tie.
The other one's wearing a little weird pork pie hat. Yeah. Very
boy.
good.
That's such a good adventure hook, too, for just giving your players the options, like the opportunity to just tell their dramatic backstory.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a
Totally.
great session one of, like, let's get to know our characters and also
yeah.
introduce a really fun NPC.
If you know
That
you
is
have
great.
a player that's just itching to reveal their tragic backstory.
Just tell him
Yes.
the Old Smoky.
Oh, man. I gotta say, this is a classic DM's tip just for anybody listening. If you build into your world that there are just common stopping points along trails that travelers often rest at, and that your adventuring party might stumble across other random travelers, that is a great place to encourage some roleplay where, you know, you're walking, you're like, oh, we gotta camp down for the night, and you see a well-trodden path to a little, like, obviously often used campfire pit, and there's, like, a couple travelers already sitting there. Great time to exchange backstories, get to know some people. I've done
Totally.
that a few times in my games.
Totally.
It's always
It
fun.
And
always
it doesn't
works
have
well.
to be that you're at a shop and like someone's
Yeah.
like, I want to buy a bottle, and then the rogue is like, my father used to get too many bottles, but then he died, and now I'm a rogue, and you're like, oh, okay.
He died of botulitis.
Inflammation of the bottle, as everyone.
Inflammation of the bottle. Yes. All right, Onog, hit us with that stat block.
All right.
For this first one, let's talk about its stats, and then we'll talk about some of the other creatures in the document. We'll talk a bit more just about their lore, and then we'll tease some of the other ones because we want to leave a few secrets for those of you who want to go see the full thing on DM's Guild.
We are a tease.
Yes, yes.
Well, as one could expect of the barbecue golem, he is one chunky boy. He's got loads of strength and constitution. Easily his worst stat is charisma.
Mine is fine.
I don't think I've seen anything with a charisma stat of 1. I cannot.
incredible.
I cannot think I don't think I've ever seen something that low.
I mean, like a metal creature whose tummy belches fire and whose hands are a spatula and a fork, who's covered in blood and gristle, looks at you and says, "Be my friend," and you're like, "No,
you're
No,
covered
I'm
in
good, thank
you're
you.
covered in meat juice.
I do want to say, in the adventure hooks, in that first one, it says that the townsfolk are all hiding from a huge mechanical construct, but technically it is a large construct. So that's an editor's note.
Well, that's always the
pushes
tricky
up
thing
glasses.
in writing like lore content is because you're like, when do you use the mechanical words versus just a descriptor?
I'm
Yeah.
joking.
But
I'm not
I
that
don't know which is
pedantic.
funnier: an enormous, huge-sized creature running around successfully shoving cows into it, or a large creature desperately trying
Oh, see,
to
that's
shove
what
cows
I loved
into
the
it.
image of it, of like it's sort of a regular-sized barbecue trying to like
Put a whole
get
cow
a cow.
in it. Yeah, that's
Now,
very good.
so
That's
what is
so
interesting though,
gnarly.
you do have one advantage over this golem here. He has a damage vulnerability to cold. So with that, damage vulnerability is something very weird in 5th edition because it's a concept that the developers of the game introduced and then proceeded to use on exactly 2 creatures, and then never used on anything else.
What are those two?
I
do you
think
know?
like skeletons are vulnerable to
Vulnerable
bludgeoning
to
damage,
bludgeoning.
and I think
Correct.
like fire,
Great, love
fire or water elementals are weak to ice damage or something like that. And
I think it's fire is weak to water.
Well, water damage isn't a type.
Are there no
This is
like
important.
demons vulnerable to radiant or anything like that?
No,
that doesn't
there's
come up?
nothing that's. I don't think there's anything. I mean, obviously there's a lot of monsters, and I could be oversimplifying. I've never been wrong before.
Onog, you almost said you could be wrong.
No, I've never been wrong. But most scenarios of something being quote unquote vulnerable to radiant damage isn't that radiant does double damage, which is what the concept of damage vulnerability does. It's that if you hit it with radiant damage, either one of this creature's abilities doesn't work.
Oh,
Like the vampires have a heal.
Or it's like a hydra. It doesn't grow more heads if you've hit it with fire.
If you've hit it with
damage.
fire damage
Yeah.
or like acid damage or something. Yeah. So it's like they didn't utilize damage vulnerability in those cases in very high challenge rating situations. More often than not, something being not immune or resistant to something counts as its vulnerabilities to certain
basically,
parties,
yeah.
where it's like, oh, this thing isn't immune to radiation damage. Well, then that's the only damage we can use. Let's go.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to make that note. But it is really cool that's like you can just, if you cool down the barbecue, it's not as effective. It works.
You put that fire out, and it's gonna go down pretty quick.
However, it does have several damage immunities: fire, poison, psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons that are not adamantine.
Oof.
Does that mean this is an adamantine barbecue?
No,
not
that seems to
necessarily.
be standard resistance or damage immunity fare for like
Golems.
magical constructs. Is
Yeah.
that like
Okay,
you
fair
need
enough.
adamantine to overcome them, whereas like shapeshifters need silver to
Silver.
overcome.
It's not
Yeah.
that the metal is adamantine. It's that the metal is magic.
And needs adamantine to overcome.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, they can't be charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned. That tracks. So, drum roll, please. It has dark vision. It has dark vision out to 120 feet.
I would argue that it shouldn't have dark vision. It's just that the darkness for it doesn't exist.
Because it's
I
constantly
agree.
shedding like
Yeah.
burning
'Cause it's a
ember
fire.
light. Yeah, I do
that would
like
actually
that.
be a fun ability. I don't think that's in this, but that would be a cool idea. That it's
Or-
like glowing all the
Yeah.
time.
Is it a nighttime stealth predator?
It's
Oh my god!
ambush predator?
once again,
it's like a
charming but
trapdoor spider.
horrifying.
You don't see
It's
it
a
until the like the furnace in Home Alone, where it like
It opens up
throws
suddenly.
its mouth up and
Yeah.
there's fire.
It's like
Okay,
one of those.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like a trapdoor spider where like you're just
Ugh.
walking and then there's like a barbecue grill top on the ground and you think it's just like a discarded top, but then it opens. There's an active barbecue down there.
No, guys, it's the like I just keep imagining the abominable snowman from Ski Free. He's just runs from off screen as fast as he can and just snatches you up and runs away.
That's very good.
So this creature is a challenge rating 6. So for moderately low to mid-level players, this can
Yeah.
be a fun little boss. And then as you get more and more powerful players, this can become a hindrance.
I mean, it is interesting though because you do it looks like you have to have a lot of magic to be able to deal with this.
You would need some magical
usually you
weapons,
don't start getting inherently magic weapons or with abilities, at least with class abilities, until like level 6.
Yeah. And like maybe you have magic weapons, but most parties aren't thinking to get adamantine weapons. So
true. It will definitely be that it's like, like we mentioned, there's always the non-combat options for how to end how to end combats and how to end encounters. With like ghosts and stuff, where at low levels it is impossible to kill a ghost in D&D, but you're not supposed to. You're supposed to solve their unsolved problems or whatever, make them go away that way.
I guess for this you have to just go find an animal.
As long as you keep it satiated with meat, I think he's your friend.
With everyone in your party. Although then that's a whole other challenge, because like maybe everyone in your party is a vegetarian, so you're like, hey, we found you some mushrooms. Like, try grilling these.
Yes, Mercy.
I have a new adventure hook for you all that you can have for free.
You just lit up with like a blinding light of inspiration.
Yeah, no, I love this. So you come across a town that has to leave out offers of meat periodically, or else livestock will go missing around their town, and they think that they have like an angry spirit,
or they have
an angry local god or something, and it's like a religious custom that you have to leave out offerings.
You are
like
describing
raw meat.
Many episodes of Star Trek right now.
But then it turns out that it's just an old barbecue golem from like hundreds of years ago that's like rusted out, that just comes in the night and steals like a couple of chickens if they don't leave out like a rack of ribs. It's a classic fantasy. I love the reveal that it's this.
My favorite thing for this would be like the party thinks they're dealing with a dragon or something, and then they're just like, wait, what is that? Clunk, 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 clunk. Grabs the meat, runs away, clunk, clunk, clunk. Like, I'm just imagining it.
It dead sprints into the room, says nothing, shoves a few chickens into its stomach, turns around and just dead sprints away.
Because it can't really talk. It says it understands, but it only really speaks a few words of common. And I would imagine those words are things like
meat.
Meat.
Unless, of course, it's Old Smokey, who is very prolific.
Yes.
Well, it's because he's heard so many stories. He's learned a lot.
He's learned the words. So let's get to the abilities. So we have the standard fare for most golems, immutable form. The golem can't is immune to any spell or effect that would alter its form. So no polymorphing the golem while something is inside of it, and then having to answer that question.
That would be a genius way to make like a turducken.
No cheesing this encounter.
Do you
trying
barbecue
to make a grilled cheese joke? Is that what you're going for?
Okay, I think my turducken joke was better.
No cheesing this encounter.
Well,
cheese is a barbecue.
Well, Thomas,
it's a barbecue, not a grill, Thomas.
I'm gonna have to tell you to take a seat, champ. Which is the next ability. When the golem hits a medium or smaller creature with a melee weapon attack, it can take a bonus action to force the creature to make a DC 14 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is knocked prone. So it's just the image of
That's like what dads say at the barbecue, right?
Take a seat, champ, but then it smacks you to make you take the seat.
Yeah. I want to backtrack. Thomas.
That's not funny.
Thomas, that joke does not meet my comedy standards. Look, I'm not meaning to grill you here on
Bean,
your comedy work.
That was
Bean,
also very
incredible.
good. Bean, those puns freed me from my curse. I was trapped.
There you go.
You freed me.
Well, this makes sense because beans go great with barbecue.
See?
Man, we're on fire.
That's how you do it, Thomas.
Like a barbecue?
Yeah. Now you did one that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. However, it's now time to get to the oft-mentioned already and most horrifying ability of the barbecue golem is taste the charcoal. When the golem hits a medium or smaller creature with a melee weapon attack, it can take a bonus action to grapple a medium-sized or smaller creature. Creatures that are successfully grappled in this way are stuffed inside the golem's torso.
Oh, no.
A smoking chamber. End of sentence. While inside this chamber, they take 10 2d8 fire damage at the beginning of each of the golem's turns. Creatures can attempt to escape the chamber at the beginning of each of their turns by succeeding on a DC 14 Strength, Athletics, or Dexterity Acrobatics check. The creature's choice.
Oh my gosh, it freaking cooks you. It's just like
it roasts you alive, and that's the thing.
Now, Bobby, this is why you want the clean taste of propane, Bobby.
Wait, is that
you don't want the charcoal?
Are you trying to do King of the Hill?
Is that what you think Hank Hill sounds
Bobby?
like?
I don't know what a JPEG is.
You are currently doing an impression of the village elder in a post-apocalyptic town telling the ancient stories of
King of
the Hill
right, hold
and
on.
what he
reenact
thinks
I'm gonna try to do something here. Do I look like I know what adamantine is?
You see, that was great.
That was very good, Beat.
Here we go.
I would love. I love the idea that this barbecue golem, because the name of the ability is taste the charcoal. I like that maybe he says that when he throws you in there. But I love the idea that maybe this barbecue golem is just like one of those dads who he can just talk forever about his charcoal grilling hobby, where he's like, oh, this is why you really want maple wood. It gives the perfect level of smoke but that's all he knows about. So he can't talk about any other subject where you're like, what do you think we should do today? And he's like, I really think cedar's the best for fish barbecue. Yep. Just that's all he has.
I mean, maybe that's what they mean when they say it only speaks a few words of common. It can speak as much common as it wants, as long as it is talking about barbecue or smoking
pertaining
or meat.
to barbecue. Mm-hmm. That's what I did with that Warforged.
Yeah.
He was like a lumberjack. His entire lexicon was just cutting wood terms.
Yeah, he would be like, these trees to cut, and it would be like enemies in the
bandits.
forest.
Yeah.
Man, if I met one of these as an NPC, there is a 0% chance that my intention would not be to get it to join as a member of our party.
As our chef.
As our chef,
yeah. 100%. If you're an all lizard folk party, you're set to go.
Oh.
Well, the character that I'm playing in our game right now is a hunter, and man, a match made in heaven.
It's so good.
Yeah, for
just
real.
here you go.
Although, if you have it with you everywhere, it does mean it's going to attract more predators. Everywhere you go, there's just going to be bears.
We'll get to that later in
the
stat block, I think.
That is in the stat block, and it's there because it's a real thing. If you just have the smell of cooking meat with you everywhere, you do attract more animals.
You attract
for sure.
bears.
Yeah. Let's keep going on.
All right. So, with that, the final ability is Tools of the Trade. The golem's weapons are magical.
Yeah, fair.
Now, the golem can make 2 attacks, one with its spatula and one with its skewer. The spatula is a melee weapon attack with a +8 to hit, and it deals bludgeoning and fire damage. However, the skewer is a melee or ranged weapon attack.
It's like making a kebab out of you.
It can shoot the skewer!
It can fire the skewer at range.
It's like you get stabbed with a skewer that has the little curl at the end, and maybe there's a little red onion on there.
And the skewer does just piercing damage.
Mm-hmm. Just piercing. Yeah. That makes sense.
That thing's going to go right through some chainmail.
So now,
that's going straight through.
The barbecue golem is interesting because it has 2 different reaction abilities. So the first one is Kiss My Gas. When the golem...
Say that again.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Kiss My Gas. When the golem is hit by a melee weapon attack, it can use its reaction to belch flaming gas at the attacker. The attacker must make a DC 14 dexterity saving throw, taking 3d8 fire damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. So it just has its own built-in hellish rebuke.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a pretty decent hellish rebuke right there.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And then the last one is You Smell Like Meat. After hitting a living creature with a melee weapon attack, the golem can spend its reaction to summon 1d4 wolves and 1d2, which is not a thing, black bears, who will only target creatures hit by the golem's attacks. Once this reaction is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn.
It's because you got all the grease on you.
I had it.
And then you're like, I smell like beef.
I smell like beef. For some reason, I hadn't pictured it this way before, but you reading it just then, it says it summons them, and I just picture it slaps you with its spatula, and then it stands and raises its arms and calls to the sky come, my children. And,
they rise up from the earth.
Bears show up. Yogi Bear
Listen,
shows
the
up.
children of the queue. What sizzles they make.
What beautiful sizzles they make.
The golem just points at you, and it looks at the bear and says, picnic basket. And the bear's like, like, oh
no. No.
That's great.
Yeah, but that is the barbecue golem, the king of Q.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we can all agree with about the barbecue golem is that you can't cheese this guy.
That's not a thing.
Also, I want to...
All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
No, that's not a joke that we had previously said. This is a new one.
I don't know what Thomas is doing.
You can't cheese this guy. So, the next creature we want to discuss from the document is something perfect for the month we're in right now currently, June.
Yes.
It's Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month,
right?
everyone.
It's June.
Definitely June.
And so that means it's Pride, baby.
Woo.
Pride Month.
Yeah, this one is delightful. So this is Lateris, the rainbow dragon, the Transcendent. Ooh. When Lateris was born, they were a murky blend of indeterminate colors, a dragon of an unknown variety. The other dragons in their community didn't quite know what to make of them. They urged Lateris to raze villages to the ground or freeze their inhabitants with their breath, hoping to glean some clues as to Lateris' true nature. However, Lateris was not interested in violence. The other dragons grew impatient and staged an ambush in an attempt to make Lateris reveal what they were capable of. Still, Lateris refused, insisting that they would use their powers in their own time and on their own terms.
Oh man, Mercy, with your voice, your beautiful silky voice, I feel like I should be, in the edit, I'll have to put some like dramatic ambiance music behind this story you're telling.
And can we like zoom in and have it like slowly pan across the image? Okay. Well, we don't have to say because you're experiencing it right now, viewers. All right. One day, Lateris unfolded their wings and flew high above the clouds, opening their mouth and roared, releasing a dazzling cacophony of colors from their jaws. The other dragons in their clan saw a rainbow light up the sky and knew that Lateris was a unique dragon, the first of their kind. They welcomed Lateris back, but Lateris decided to leave that same day and settled on a mountaintop of their own, hoping to create a new community for any creatures who want to learn more about themselves at their own pace. Lateris is a peaceful and kind dragon, fiercely proud of who they are and of the creatures who are drawn to their haven. However, being the first rainbow dragon has made them a target for those who fear differences and, instead of wanting to understand them, wish to destroy them.
It's so good.
Oh, this is so great.
The writing in this whole document is fantastic.
The people over at Holidanger do great work, folks.
Yeah, we love this. So the adventure hooks. Rumors of a powerful rainbow dragon living in the mountains have reached an order of sorcerers who want to capture Lateris and study their lineage. Lateris asks you to help protect their freedom and the queer community they have built. They have limited time and resources to prepare defenses, but you will gain a lifelong friend and ally should you succeed.
Yes! You're gonna have to include that.
I love that it's not even just a metaphor. They just explicitly say the queer community. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Not only do I love this as like an actual piece of like queer literature in D&D, but I also love like the little story blurb at the beginning serves as like a functional rainbow myth or like origin myth.
Like this is where rainbows come from.
This is where rainbows come from. They come from the mountains, and that's Laertes or
Lateris.
Lateris. Sorry, I am preparing to perform in Hamlet, and so Laertes is on my brain.
Look, the gay community did not claim rainbows. They made rainbows.
Yes.
They made the rainbows.
Actually?
Yes.
Queer people invented rainbows.
True.
Lateris has heard of the discovery of a second rainbow dragon, and asks you to help track them down, eager to make a new friend. You'll have to be clever in navigating their mountain home, as this dragon doesn't want to be found, and has placed fortifications and traps to secure their privacy. And the last one. Lateris is hosting their annual Pride Party, and there are noise complaints from the villagers near the mountain. Boo. The villagers hire you to stop the noise. When you reach the mountain community, you see it is full of all kinds of well-meaning, peaceful creatures. And join the party, I assume, right?
I would assume
you have a
Well,
rad
it gives
party
you the
scene?
option.
Unless you're a narc.
I mean, maybe there's a way we can appease it. I mean, maybe, like, we can have fun, and maybe the people of the town are very respectful. It is just a little bit too loud. And that, I mean, that is fair. That is a fair, you know, maybe they're like, hey, we love what's going on there, but, you know, my baby is trying to sleep right now. And so it's like, okay, sorry about that. We'll quiet a little bit. But we will party all night long. If that's the case,
I feel like as soon as you said anything to Lateris, they would be so respectful.
Oh, of course.
So understanding.
Absolutely. I do really love the second adventure hook because there's a lot that you could do with it. And the whole, I'll have a little bit more to say about this in a moment, but the whole point of Lateris is it's like all about self-discovery in your own time. So with the idea of like, oh, there's a second rainbow dragon out there, potentially, but they're secretive. Maybe that rainbow dragon, when you go talk to them, is like, oh yeah, I'd love to come out and like meet new people and learn more, or maybe they're not ready, and like that's okay, and maybe that's part of like what you have to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like as part of the quest you could learn about like maybe there's a reason that other dragon needs to feel safe, needs to feel like, you know, secure and private, and you don't have to force them out.
Yeah,
you can let them be comfortable and come out when they're ready, when it's, you know, when they feel like it's the right time, and you can just do your best to create a safe environment.
Yeah, totally. It's so nice. And I am queer, and like I didn't expect this document to like hit so hard, but like it does. It's so nice. Like I feel like the themes that are present in all of the lore writing here are just so lovely and just resonate really, really nicely, and it feels really authentic and wonderful. And I'm a huge fan. And in my games going forward, I'm just gonna say Lateris, it just exists now.
Yeah.
Like that's just a thing.
It's awesome. So just to get a little bit personal here for a second, I agree. Like I particularly love the way that this is written, and I love that particularly the language is like Lateris insisted that they would use their powers in their own time and on their own terms, and then like hoping to create a community for any creatures who wanted to learn more about themselves at their own pace. I've kind of mentioned this before on the show. I'm on the asexual spectrum, and I definitely have more to my like identity journey that I am learning. I know that for sure I've experienced this where sometimes there's like a pressure to be like, oh, you have to like come out of the closet and figure out who you are, like you have to do all of this, like, and the idea of saying like, no, like the whole point is to be able to take your time. That's such an important thing to remember to emphasize, and I love that is the culture that they're fostering here, and I think it should be fostered like in way more places, and I just I really support it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, it's great.
We won't cover the stat blocks of Lateris the Rainbow Dragon, but man, there are a lot of them. There is the full dragon stat block, there's an adult, a young, and a wormling stat block. So that's like 4 different stats for dragons, for rainbow dragons, which is great because that means you can include it pretty much no matter what level your party is. You know, they can stumble across a rainbow dragon in the world, whether it's Lateris or a different rainbow dragon, perhaps. So that's really fun. Lets it, you know, fit into any campaign, because if you're, you know, level like 4, you might not be ready to meet a level challenge rating 22 gargantuan dragon, even if it's chaotic good. You never know.
It also does mean that you maybe don't have to meet Lateris like when they're at their full like queer community
like maybe
icon.
You met them when they were a baby, and you have to protect them while they discover themselves.
And they're surrounded by the pressure and the negativity, and you know like you get to be encouraging for them.
Giving your party an NPC they'll become deeply attached and protective of. Can you imagine meeting like a baby rainbow dragon that's like, I just didn't fit in? Like, can you imagine the devotion how invested your party would become?
You have my axe and my bow.
I would die for this crystal baby.
Absolutely.
Travelers, if you hear any thumping, that's just Mercy's familiar in the background.
Just playing with a box.
Don't worry about it. The last creature we want to touch on our preview today was the one I got to pick out, which is one of my favorite ones in the document. So I just think they're silly. The Sandcastle Crab, the Grand Architect. I'll touch on this a little bit. I'll give you their lore background, and then we'll give you a bit of just a little taste of some of the other creatures you can find in this document here if you want to go check out the full link in the description. Masterful craftsmen, sandcastle crabs are elemental beings native to the plane of Earth. They spend much of their time on the borders between the planes of earth and water, building and perfecting opulent palaces to make their homes. Using their power over the earth, they can form impossibly strong bricks from the finest grains of sand, and turn ordinary mud into grand sculptures. Most sandcastle crabs spend the 50 years of childhood and adolescence planning their future abode, crafting a perfect scale model of their desired home while honing their craft. Once they're ready, they place the model upon their backs and set off on a journey that can last for years, searching for the perfect place in the multiverse to begin constructing their creation.
So this does say that castle crabs spend their entire adolescence essentially playing Minecraft.
I just love the image of it. It puts that little castle, it's like, perfect, this is where the kitchen shall go, this is the tower, I've done it. And then it puts it on its back and it's like, now to find where to place it.
Yeah.
Sandcastle crabs often find their way to the material plane, constructing their beautiful abodes on sandy beaches or scenic oceanside cliffs. Here they claim the land as their own, often coming into conflict with local inhabitants. Snobbish and rude, the crabs have little regard for other beings, especially those they consider unskilled in the arts. However, individuals with an affinity for creation and a little flattery can find themselves an ally in most sandcastle crabs.
So it's not quite that they're like out to steal people's land, it's just that they're like very self-centered and very snobbish.
The view is perfect.
Yeah,
I know. That's why I live here. Not anymore.
Sorry. I love that. They're like these jerks that just want to build their big castle and live in it. And then I love the idea of stumbling across one of these. Like your party's walking along the coast and they see like a huge, like 2-scale, life-sized castle made of pure sand, and they're like, what the heck, what is it? Did giants come to have a beach day? Like, what's going on? And there's just this sandcastle crab who lives in there. He's got like a monocle on. He's like, yes, welcome to my home. They do speak Aquan, Common, and Terran, so, I mean, you can talk with them, right? You can have a conversation about why they're there. They're also, like, powerful spellcasters. They mostly build their homes using, like, magic, like sculpt earth and stuff like that, which is pretty wild. They have, like, transmute rock, move earth, like wall of stone, that kind of thing, which is pretty crazy.
I love the idea that you could stumble across these at any place in the multiverse. This is, they often make their homes on the material
You
plane.
could be in, like, the 9 hells.
Yeah,
like...
I love that. You just see one, like, floating by on an asteroid in the vacuum of space. I love that they could just be anywhere.
Just a sandcastle crab walking by you with like nether rock in there.
Or they show up and like someone who's a demon who's a master of one of the 9 hells is like, aha, yes, and the ritual, and then like, and the sandcastle crab's like setting up and they're like, what are you doing here? And then like,
You're
I'm
ruining
building
the
my
summoning
castle.
circle.
This
is where my house goes, sorry.
But the ritual circle is here. Yeah.
No, I think the ritual circle will make a great pool room.
I'm picturing a bar. I love that. The only other part I wanted to mention before we wrap up the episode here is they do, in their stat block, have lair actions. They have lair actions and regional effects, which I feel like you could argue that maybe they just take their lair with them everywhere.
I would argue that their lair is the small one and that they always have lair actions.
My original misunderstanding of the stat blocks and the information given there was that they made like a practice sandcastle and then proceeded to make a giant castle, but that still remained on their back.
Somehow.
They wouldn't be able to go inside of it.
Yes, and that is the true tragedy of a sandcastle crab.
I guide people to... No, I bring a treasure to people that I cannot
possess. Yeah. So I really like the regional effects, which are something I think are underutilized in most of Dungeons & Dragons. They're in the monster manual, folks. Check them out. They're cool. Like, most dragons have them. They're awesome. Regional effects. So I want to read through these because they're so neat. The region containing a legendary sandcastle crab's lair is warped by its magic, which creates one or more of the following effects. Small sandcastle replicas of the crab's abode appear randomly on sandy terrain within 5 miles of the crab's lair.
Nice.
So you can tell you're getting close when the sandcastles begin appearing. I like to imagine they get, like, there's more and more dense. Like, you see more and more of them as you get closer. It's like a minefield of sandcastles.
Begins to be very uncanny.
That's kind of terrifying, actually.
sediment within 1 mile of the crab's abode is crumbling and grainy like sand. I think that would be cool for if the sandcastle crab moves in and then the local town is like, yo, our farm fields are all sandy and like they're not working well anymore.
That's a serious
like,
thing, yeah.
And then you got to convince the crab to move somewhere else, yeah. And then the final one, crabs and other crustaceans appear in considerable numbers within 10 miles of the crab's lair.
I don't like that word.
That could be so good because they can move anywhere. So you're like in the snow-covered mountains or the jungle, and you just start seeing like crabs.
Hundreds and hundreds of
crabs. And you're like,
You just start hearing. You guys know that meme where it's like, wait a minute, why do I hear boss music? But it's like, wait a minute, why do I hear crab rave? And it's just like all these crabs like moving past you.
I will say, sadly, the language in that block does make it sound like the lair is just the big one.
Yeah, well, don't worry about it. Okay, we get to interpret it ourselves.
However you want.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation. Those are just some highlights, folks, from our review of the 10 Monsters of Midsummer. We've had a great time with the document. There's a lot here that we really enjoyed and stuff we're going to definitely be adding to our games. To just give a little taste of what else is in there, we'll throw the art up of some of the other ones, and we'll give you the little one-sentence blurb of what they are.
We have the Photiad, who's sort of a lava dryad equivalent. We have the giant cicada, which is like a cicada, but giant.
Could you picture?
Imagine, if you would.
Imagine, if you will.
Imagine the problems that might happen if it was that big and there were a lot of them.
Oh, no.
And they were very loud.
I don't like this bedtime story.
We have the living firework, which is a very chaotic elemental, which the ideas in the
come on, what's the subtext?
Are so
what's the subtitle?
What's the subtitle of it? You remember. The elemental of surprise.
Right. We have the Midsummer Queen, a very cool sort of demigod, almost like figure.
Kind of themed after the
Midsummer, Swedish.
The Midsummer Festival, Sweden. Yeah.
And we have Signor Galleon, who is a boat. Who is the creature? The creature is the big boat.
A sentient boat with a skeleton crew.
Again, so fun to meet in World. The Sunday Ooze, which is such a fun take on like an ice cream gelatinous cube.
You like gelatinous cubes, you're gonna love the ice cream.
So I would argue this is a Neapolitan ooze based on the picture, but we'll keep going.
There's no bananas. Come on.
The lore and adventure hooks on that one are very funny. You should really click on it and
all
read it.
Scream
I wish we had time to read it
for ice cream.
And last but most is the sun.
The sun has a stat block and you can punch it.
It's an armadillo.
Just the sun.
Nog, more along the lines of the sun has a stat block and can punch you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Watch out. This thing ain't no joke.
Yeah.
It's challenge rating 23. It's a monster.
Yeah, it's like...
You want to challenge a high level. But I think you mentioned last time we were, this is the first time we've recorded.
Definitely, as we're recording this in early April.
Early May.
Yeah, it's about to be summer, folks.
Yeah, summer's coming right up. You mentioned you can have the sun fight a Tyrannosaurus, which I think is a very fun idea.
You know, if all else fails, the sun's got your back.
I don't want the sun to have my back. It's big and it's hot and it's angry.
Well, then wear some screen.
It has an ability where it gives you a sunburn. It doesn't deal any damage. It just gives you disadvantage, which I think is the funniest flavor of all time. So travelers, if you, like us, are hanging out here in February, excited for summer coming soon, you want to get ready for Hot Monster Summer, go check out 10 Monsters of Midsummer from Holidanger. They've got a preview available, as well as the full document for purchase on DM's Guild. If you're not familiar with DM's Guild, it's a website where people can publish their homebrew creations, and it allows people who might be amateurs in the tabletop role-playing design space to get some exposure, and for up-and-coming creators to, find ways to hone their skills and hopefully one day maybe move into real professional work. So it's a great place to go check out and support creators you like.
Absolutely. And make sure to like and subscribe so that you can get more content like this. Specifically, we are hoping to cover more of Holidanger's content, maybe even some spooky.
Maybe that Halloween one we mentioned. Watch out.
Subscribe so you don't miss that.
Yeah, we'll cover that one next December. If you have a homebrew you want us to cover on the show that you've seen or maybe you've created, you can always send it to us at our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com, or on social media at thecopperfoxinn. You can also comment it right below this video. We read all the comments. Be nice, please. We read all of them. It means a lot. You guys have been great in commenting.
Nice.
You travelers have been wonderful as a community in commenting on our videos and letting us know what you like and your thoughts about everything. You've provided some really great feedback. We appreciate you watching our videos and allowing us to post this Monsters of Midsummer, even though, summer is so far away and we're doing it so early, here in January.
I mean, technically, it's always before us summer.
Some summer. Until next time, travelers, thanks for listening and keep on adventuring.
Bye.